Akshay, is everything ready? Shall we start exactly at 2 o'clock?
Sir, 2 start பண்ணிடலாம் சார்.
Yes, please. Mayuk?
Yeah,
Yeah. Once the intro about you is finished, you can start present, okay?
okay.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Bala sir? Okay. Thank you, Bala, for your response. Okay, just confirm that you are here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to one and all present here, and a warm welcome on the behalf of Institutional Innovation Council in association with IPR Cell for our virtual workshop on effective research paper writing and patent filling. Faith is taking first step even when we don't see the whole staircase. There is an explanation for everything. What matters is not the idea a man holds, but the depth at which he holds. So let us begin this event with the kind grace of God to bless and fulfill our wishes in all our endeavors. Here comes the prayer song for the prosperous start.
ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं ज्ञानानन्दमयं ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्या.
So let us begin this event with the kind grace of God to bless and fulfill.
हयग्रीवम् उपास्महे.
Thank you all. Government of India, Ministry of Higher Education's MHRD, insisted all the higher educational institutions to form a council called IIC, Institutional Innovation Council, through which various activities are initiated. IIC, in association with IPR Cell of PSG College of Arts and Science, is organizing a virtual workshop on effective research paper writing and patent filing. IIC of PSG College of Arts and Science cordially organizes the above event, which is happening now in a pleasant way. Thank you.
A small cheer and a great welcome makes a merry feast. Thus, to formally welcome the gathering, I now invite Dr. P. Shaktivinayagam Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, and an IIC member for the welcome address.
Good afternoon to one and all gathered here and those who are joined through our live streaming. It's my immense pleasure to give welcome address on behalf of PSG CAS Institutional Innovation Council and Intellectual Property Rights Cell for this wonderful event on this pleasant gathering. First and foremost, I welcome our respected Madam Principal, most respected Secretary, beloved Vice Principals, who act as a steering force to make all these events in our college to promote research activities and creating awareness about patent filing among the research scholars, even in this hot pandemic period. Secondly, I welcome all my colleagues, IIC and IPRSL members, and my dear friends who always stand behind us for the support to make this event happen. I wholeheartedly welcome our resource persons, my friends, Dr. Mayuk Ray from University of Tokyo, Japan, and Dr. Balakumar from Nanjing University, China, for their valuable time. Any meet or event can be successful only when the audience gallery is full. We as coordinators are really overwhelming by the response from the participants, not only from our institute PSG CAS, but also outside the institution, outside various institutions. So I welcome you each and every participants for this event wholeheartedly. Welcome all.
Thank you, sir. At this juncture, let us be informed and inspired about the chief guest of our first session. I now invite Mr. Sharan to give a brief introduction about the chief guest.
Good afternoon to one and all. I have a very pleased duty of introducing our chief guest of today's first session, Dr. Mayuk Ray, who is going to talk about to us in the topic Effective Way of Research Paper Writing. He has completed his BSc at University of Burdwan, West Bengal, India, then MSc at Hindu Banaras University, UP, India. After MSc, he had some technical training to enroll PhD at IIT Madras and Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics, Kolkata. He did his PhD at University of Calcutta and then worked as a postdoctorate in various research institutes like IISER Pune, United Arab Emirates University, scientist at the Institute of Solid State Physics, University of Tokyo, Japan. He has also won the India's famous and pride JSPS Fellowship last year. He has published more than 30 international research articles and actively engaging with various research in more than 5 research domains. With his excellence in his research fields, I am sure that today's session will turn out to be a good, informative with the right to elucidate today's topic. Welcome, sir.
Okay. Thank you for the administration of the PhD College of Arts and Science and my friend Dr. Sakti for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with the new PhD scholar or the who are going to start their research career. I know that there might be a more eligible and experienced person sitting in the audience, and but this today's talk is I aim to prefer only focus only on that those who are those who are just going to start their career as a researcher. So at the end of this talk, they might not be the master on writing the research paper, but I am quite sure that getting a right direction at as early as their career will help them to save their future. So I prepared the outline of my talk is like this. So in first few slides, I will discuss much of why researchers do science at the first place, why we need to do the science, and then I will approach to the directly go to the how to start that writing a research article by saying means that what are the basics we need to write a journal article, and then I will discuss about that the general structure of a scientific journals and what about the types of journals we available in our the publication community to publish our ideas and knowledge. And then finally, I will refer that how we prepare that referring process, how this referring process is handled by the publishing group, as well as how we respond to the referee when we get criticism or whatever constructive comments. And I will summarize my presentation by just pointing out what we can learn at the end of this talk. So just let me start with by mentioning, so why we as a researcher do science at the first place? Because it improves the quality of life. It's starting from the improvement of the life expectancy of human, and to today's whatever the benefits, improvements of benefits we enjoy due to the science. In other ways, from the application perspective, we also need to do that science to answer the long-standing and question remains on the unanswered from the nature, because those kind of questions may not have immediate potential applications, but later on, we see this kind of understanding will shape our future applications, such as when Newton observed that the gravitational force. So that time, people may not consider that what will be going to be the applications of this gravitational force, but later on find that it means there's gravitational force is in everything. So we need to consider and calculate those force when we are want to fly that airplane or rocket, everything. And another perspective is that very recently discovered that massless oil fermions means this particle was predicted in the high energy physics. It's a long time ago theoretically, but it was not observed in the high energy physics. So people started to believe that the scientists started to believe that this particle does not exist at all. So very recently, in quantum matter physics, people observed that massless fermion. So because that electron, when inside the solids, it feels a very complex type of interaction. That means complex types of force. So its mass become modified. So this electron behaves like a massless particle. So at this point, people or scientists are looking for the application, what kind of application this oil fermion may have in the future. But they potentially selected as this discovery can changes the communication system, because today's world we just in computational or anything we just manipulate the electron, which motion of electron, control the motion of electrons. But we know that electron has mass. So when we want to much faster transfer of information, it may hinder because of the electron collides with other electrons. So it loses the information. But if we can control one massless particle which can transfer with the speed of light, the information will also be transferred to the speed of light. So these are the two factors we need to. Two things I discussed on the perspective of application as well as the long standing of physics. But is that all? Is that all what for what we do science? Not at all, actually. That because we need to pass this information to our future generation to save their future. Because we know that in our earlier means ancient days. So when in the ancient days means I am referring to the Stone Age. So on that days, people used to write the information or knowledge, whatever they gather on the rock. Then papers comes into the picture, and then in the very recently the digital medium. So we can write this or store this information or knowledge, whatever it is, in terms of recent digital medium. But all the information on the digital platform we are getting, is that reliable? The answer is no. So as a scientist, we need to publish our ideas and knowledge somewhere else, where that our idea or knowledge is judged or reviewed by some people on the expert from the same field. So publication house gives this opportunity to publish our ideas or knowledge in their portal. So that portal, when we submit our ideas and knowledge, that is judged or reviewed by that expert panel. So that knowledge and information becomes more reliable. And apart from that, and the academic scientist and as well as the researcher need to publish their ideas or knowledge in journals to get a job, to make their personal life better. So on the other side, the industrial and military-based research is more of a secret and patent-based. I think this will be covered in the next section of this session. So when you have some results or you are about to start your project, it is very important to know your literature, because this literature gives you that So this literature gives you that the idea about your work, means what you need to be done, means in your project, and what experiment or theoretical analysis you should do to save your time and in a fruitful manner. So while reviewing your literature, you will understand this kind of tricks, means knowledge you will gather, means what kind of experiment you should do. And another factor is that you should read your literature by yourself. You do not expect your supervisor or other collaborators to do it for you, because they have some other works to deal with. And during this literature review, you will also learn how the professional scientists write, and learn from their style and languages, because scientific language is very different from the everyday language, and it is also very different from the literature language. In literature, they say that very simple things in complex manner, but as a scientist, we should tell that very complex in a simple manner. And also in this process, it is better to follow a paper by the experienced native speakers, because that will gives you the idea how to form your sentence and how to convey your message to your readers in the lucid manner. So at this point, I consider you have some results which is maybe final or near to the final result of your project, and you are now thinking about to writing something, or you want to communicate your result for the publications. So at this point, I also consider that you are aware of the literature, what you are doing. You have very clear idea about what you have done, what the result you have gone. So you must have extract from your results that a very clear and single message, which is easiest to read and remember, and it is also must be very easy to communicate to the other readers. So during this process, you you should remember that if there are too many equally important matches, then the paper can become very difficult to digest for the reader, because if you put lot of information and without any context as well as uh, then it will be very difficult to draw a conclusion out of those various matches which does not matches your result what you are presenting. And another important result, if you have multiple important result, and if you think that you are going to publish those your separate result in a multiple papers, but it will give you the number, it will definitely increase your number of papers, but but it will decrease the impact you can create by a single message. I would rather suggest that you better talk to your supervisor or co-author at this point, because they are the most experienced one. They might have some better suggestion for your publications. So when you are trying to communicate your results, you should inform all that result to your collaborators. They must agree on that what you trying to communicate or publish on the online platform. So it is before about the choosing a journal. So you have the result. You also already find out what to be published. You are going to be published with your supervisor. So it is better to choose a journal as early as possible, because different kinds of publication house, different kinds of they have different kinds of instruction for their journals. So if you keep in mind which journal you are going to communicate, it will make your life easier, because the later format they only accept 4 pages journal article. So if you have lot of results, so you cannot, it will be difficult to summarize all of your result in 4 pages. So you should keep in mind that which journal you are going to submit. So it will save your time as well as save your as well as it will save you from that that what we are saying, that your time as well as your effort. So you may even want to use the journal style. If you want to use that particular journal style, I would suggest that you go to the journal instruction page and follow their instruction. As a very recently that many journal accept needs when you are going to submit your article, many journal needs that's ORCID ID, means it is a open researcher contribution based ID system, means where your profile is stored. So they need this kind of ID to submit your journal. So better to get an ORCID ID in the online in orchid.org website, because it is free and it will require for many reasons. So if we follow that structure of a scientific journal, so it basically consists of, as you know, that title, authors, and possibly the keywords, and the abstract, then goes like materials and methods, and results, and finally discussion, conclusion, and then the exonomist reference, these parts. So I labeled it as you can say it IMRD, ARD, or AIMRARDR. The short paper is conference paper accept different formats of publication, but most generally the structure of a scientific paper is like this. So you have to prepare this kind of structure by considering your results. So the title is the first important part of your publications. So you have to you can consider it with taking a bull by its horn. So if the title is often, the title should be very compact and should convey what you are going to say in your publications. So title often decides, as a fact that title often decides if the paper is looked by your colleagues or not, because there are so many papers with a very similar title. So if I as a reader, means mostly a reader follows this kind of strategy. So they first check the the title as well as the author, means which group that publication is submitted. If they get interested, they look into the abstract and possibly at the figure. Only then, if the paper looks particularly interesting, they will read the rest of that paper. More attractive and more relevant is the title, more likely your paper will be noticed. And the citation is another fact you will get, means if your paper is noticed by many readers, so your citation probability will also get increased. In some of the computer search, they concentrate on the keywords. So you should put that in whatever fields which you are working, you should put the keyword of that field on your title, because whenever somebody search on that field something, that your paper should appear in their computer search. So the abstract and full text research are also available, sometimes written a huge number of entries for a given set of keywords. Unless you are very specific, you will lose your, there is a high probability you will lose your citation, or you will lose the opportunity to show your articles to the reader. So the title is very important factor of your journal article. So author and affiliation, I should tell that, you know that if you are working in a group, so you have some collaborators and as well as the co-authors. So it's sometimes a difficult task for a early research career researcher. So it's better to, I will suggest that better to leave up to your supervisor, who is at control of the project. He knows what part is done by whom, and he is the best person to choose what will be the author sequence, as well as who will be that number of authorship in that particular journal. So while doing that also, we should remember that scientists do science because they enjoy it, that is fine, but they also need their publications or recognition by their name to get a job in their personal life or something. So we should be careful about that. Authorship of a good paper is also important for a scientist research career, as I mentioned. So the next part of a scientific article comes as a name of abstract. In abstract means size, and you should cover all the essential you have done your paper. So it is something like you are pitching your ideas in front of a potential investor to sell your idea to that investor, to earn funding from those kind of investor. So you have to be very coincide and compact to tell what you have done in your paper. So usually the guidelines of preparing your abstract is something like that, the abstract should be less than 5% of the total length of your journal paper. It started with typically 1 or 2 sentences focusing on the aim and possible context of your research. Then a very short description about technique, what you have, by which technique you have done, come out with this result, and finally bring that main result and major consequence, means whatever the result you got, and what this consequence, this result may have for the future or as well as the present. The absolute length of abstract should generally be less than 200 words, irrespective of the length of the paper. Many journals have very hard limit on the allowed length of the abstract. So there is one ideal abstract example I found on that Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics. So they have mentioned that the context you are communicating, the context of the result means that your abstract would something like consist of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. The first 2 lines is just tell that what is the context of your result. So they have just mentioned that the most studies of this kind of solar loop and this. And then you just tell that what is the aim of your present work. Then you just put that method, what method you followed while analyzing this data or whatever the experiment you have done to get this result. Put your result, means what result you got by following this method or this kind of. Then you just follow that conclusion part, where you put that what you got after all of these things. So while writing the abstract, you should careful about the checklist. So the writing abstract is, so try to you're completing your rest of the paper, because in many times that the papers is get changed by your co-author or something. Your motivation sometimes changes while writing the paper. So it is the best way to save time as well as your effort to write up that abstract at the end of your publications. So finally, check the abstract's consistency of the paper. When you have written that your abstract at the end of writing your articles, you should check everything. Means is everything said in this abstract is also said in the paper? There should not be some other new information on the abstract, or you have presented some other information on the main body of that your article, but which is not present in the abstract. So you should avoid this kind of discrepancy. Does that abstract give all the main result and conclusion? It should not be missing the main result and as well as the main conclusion. So I would also suggest that keep abbreviation and equation symbols as minimum as possible. Make your sentence as short as possible. It is good idea anyway for the rest of the paper, means keeping your sentence short. The introduction. So the introduction is the section where you just tell the context of your research, means why you have start to take this project. Means it is the section where you just show the reader what was the knowledge gap existed on that field and what you have done to fill up that knowledge gap. So in this introduction, you will say that background and context of your research. So while writing introduction, you should, as I said in my earlier slide, that you should keep updated about the literature, because the literature is at this point, the literature is the best possible source of knowing what you are going to present, and whatever the result is already published by this time. While you are, another perspective is that they say what the present work needs to be. You will also say that why, means you just came into that research field to start this research project. Why it is important? Why it is important for the readers? Because it tells them why they should read your research paper. Some criticism of earlier work may be necessary. So while you are writing up and you are selling your research paper to the publication house, so you may criticize some earlier work which may not agree with your recent work very well, but try to be mild, because you don't want others to be harsh about your own work either. So the needed things is that goal of your paper. If similar paper exists, what is the new in the method or results? You should describe it very clearly. So methods and the laboratory. So this section will be very easier for you, because you already have taken the note of what composition or what method or whatever the key you use to get these materials or your analysis. So at this point also you should try to be as honest as try to be very honest, because the scientific result must be reproducible. I personally, since I am also from this scientific background, I know that in many physics journals may say they mislead that material section, because there might be their result, they waited their result get to be published, or they may have some future results which they are going to communicate. So they don't disclose that very much details about their materials or whatever the process they followed. So in that case, I should also suggest to the physicists to follow that chemistry journals to get more idea about materials and methods, because I think the material chemistry journals is more honest to disclose about whatever the process and follow to synthesize those particular materials. So this section, we should also remember that this section is often studied by the referee, so it can be decided whether he or she feels the results can be trusted or not. If he or she feels that your technique is not strong enough, or your technique cannot give this kind of quality results, so then in that case their paper might be rejected. So you also know the method or instrument uh, previously used on described in the other paper, and whatever the new you have introducing in your paper. So find the balance between describing everything what you got in your result and leaving everything out what is needed from your result. So this message is very important all over this paper on or your future communication. So the result section, this is the core body of a paper. So where the result is obtained during a long labor of your research you are going to be present. So you have to be very concise as rest of your paper. Write as little as possible, but as much as needed for the reader to understand. Avoid repetition. Sometimes means very means those who are means start their career as a researcher, while they are start to write research article, the repetition problem come very frequently. So this will eliminate with the in terms of experience only. So try to avoid the repetition and be selective, and identify the important and new result before describing them in the result section. Keep in mind that one point that the fool collects the fact and wise man selects them is in W foil, but don't try to be too wise too early and first collect the facts and then select them. That the figures and tables. So this is also a very important part of your articles, because whatever the figures you are going to present, that your figure is going to present your result by in a picture manner. So your figure must be very clear and self-speaking. So must be defined earlier means does your figure you have to look into this following factor, that does your figure show that something significant and new? Is that figure important to understand whatever you have already told your main text? So figure, as I said, that figure must be self-speaking. It's very important. Must have been defined in an earlier figure caption. Caption should only clarify that what is plotted, not try to interpret in the figure. So in the figure caption, you just mention what is your figure is about. You are not going to explain some results in the captions. So your caption will also be very clear and short. If you want to put some table, so keep it very short, and each table must have the referred into text. You should not miss your figure or table in the main text. Then it will be difficult for the reader to find out what you are saying and what you are presenting. And the last part of your article is that discussion and conclusion. So in many journal the discussion and conclusion section is very same, but in many journal it is two separate out things. So in this section, the already presented result are discussed and conclusion are drawn. Sometimes they broken into separate sections, one entitled as discussion and other is conclusion, as I mentioned. So you may briefly repeat your main result. However, avoid presenting again all of the result you have found. That was already done in the result section. In this section, it is sometimes difficult to write. So it needs some expertise or experienced person from your collaborator or your supervisor to write this section, because you have some result of some or many results. From there you are going to conclude, and your conclusion is need to be very concise and clear, describe well with that rest of your paper. So you must have robust evidence for any conclusion you reach. So while you are concluding your research paper, you present your corresponding data either in the main text, or sometimes maybe you can put it in supplementary, but you should present that kind of evidence to convince the reader. So reference style has kinds of reference style. So you have to follow the instruction of the reference. I will not spend much time on these slides because it's mostly depend on that the whatever the publishing house the reference format is required, you have to put that way. So there are some papers if you find in an archive, so you may cite those kind of research article, but in that case you have to put that archive link of that paper. So as I said that in the instruction by the journal on how to refer the website, you have to follow that how to refer to the website from that particular journal or whatever it is. So while putting some references, you also have to careful about the correctness of that reference, because Lancet journal found that almost 25% of reference in literature are incorrect, because means we are much more careful about while preparing our main body of our text, that is abstract or main text or conclusion. But while putting as references, we are not that careful. We just put it out. So while you are putting references, um, try to be correct, because when you are citing someone else's work, if you put it wrong, they might not get cited from your work. So the another section is this supplementary material. So if you have some limitation, page limitation on wall limitation of that particular journal, and you have a lot of results, you have a lot of measurements, a lot of theoretical techniques. So you may not able to put all these your figures on results on the main text of that article. So you have to separately prepare a supplementary section, which can be uploaded on the electronics manners on that on this publication portal. So in that case, you need not need to be as serious as your main text of your journal, but try to be very professional in this section also. So that means you could not miss out some supplementary materials which you mention in the main text and you forgot to put in the supplementary results. So try to be very careful in this section. So the hierarchy, the types of journal, while discussing on the types of journal, there are a hierarchy in the subject journal. For example, if we are going to our general result, irrespective of the fields, the hierarchy of the journals goes like nature science, finance, and in nature physics and physics laboratory, this thing kind of things. In astronomy, so these are the journals which hold the hierarchy. And whatever the fields you are belong, I think you already means while you are being a researcher, you will be aware of that what is the hierarchy of your journal in your field. So types of journal, there are several kinds of publication house. One is subscription only, where reader pay to read, and either via subscription or by buying an article at a time. Author do not need to pay to publish. And the open access journal, another one is the author pay for the page charges to be published, the reader can read it free. There another kind of journal is mixed journal, so where both author and reader both pay. And that's a living review journal is open access, there is no page charges. So advantage of open charges is that in general your paper is most likely to be read and cited if it is open access. But there is a problem with open access, since the authors pay, the journal may be lenient and publish poor papers sometimes. So they have no responsibility towards the readers. So finally, the referring process. So you have prepared all kind of, you have a good journal, you have written a good article and you have submitted in publication house. So you got, how do they proceed? So every paper submitted on the respective journal is sent to the referee, as we know. The referee will, after the after being referred by that expert in your field, the referee will generally advise to either publish without any changes, which is very rare, and publish with minor changes. The referee does not generally see the modified version again, and before it printing, publish with major changes. In that case, referee means after you modified your article, the editor will send it back to the corresponding referee. So not publish in the present form in the another part, means they submit after the major modification, then they treat it like a new submission. And another comment may come, you get that not published at all. So dealing with the referee reports. So when you got the referee report, sometimes in most of the cases, the negative comments means you feel it is negative comment from your perspective. But you just, if you think carefully, so you don't have to be so angry about that the negative comment you feel done by the referee. So you should give some time to yourself to digest those kind of comments. So I would rather suggest then first read the report and show to your supervisor, and then put it away for a week before looking at it again to calm down, and discuss it with your supervisor after this time. Now make the changes to the paper asked by the referee. So when sending it back to the revised paper, send back a reply to the referee, pointing out whatever the changes you have made in your new version of your manuscript, and whatever he asks to revise, he or she asks to revise in your revised version. So if you are disagree with the referee and you have not taken one of his or her suggestion into account, this is where you should explain why you do not consider his suggestion. Referee are not always stupid. We should remember that we also sometimes do referring to the other journal. So we should remember that referees are not always stupid. If the referee does not understand something, then it is most likely that the paper is not clear on this point. So try to make it clear. So another part is that remain polite. Usually when we get the referring decision, if we feel he or she made some negative comment, we got usually very angry. So usually the referee is trying to help. It is better that the referee catches any errors before the paper is published. Sometimes some blunder happens in that way, means we overlooked and referee does not comment and we publish something wrong. Later in the later stage of our experiment or research career, we found that we already published something wrong, which is the artifact of your experiment or of your misunderstanding of your theoretical analysis. So even if the referee is nasty, there is usually nothing to be gained by showing your anger towards the referee. If you feel that you are being unfairly treated by the referee, you can ask for a second opinion. This is the only oath when your paper gets rejected, and you have a very good reason to defend your belief. And so, and in final slide, so I just discussed whatever the tricks and to write a research article in effective manner. So at this end of this presentation, I hope that those who are going to start their research career, particularly they can understand what means depending on the length of the paper, first priority that you should write a short paper and broader topic for the broader paper. You will also learn that how to write during training as a researcher. So one sentence summarizes that your paper is about, what you are trying to prove or what you are trying to convey in usually the last sentence of your introduction section. You will also learn to explain the difference between primary and secondary sources. You will also be able to understand the difference between plagiarism and acceptable plagiarism. I did not discuss this part because I just briefly tell about whatever the difference between plagiarism and paraphrasing. So plagiarism is that you are just taking line by line or word by word from that or some percentage, maybe 80% or 70% from someone else's paper. You are directly copy and paste in your article. And paraphrasing is that you just read someone's article and just you compare your result is very similar to his or her result. So and you just describe in your words, in you take the understanding of him or her from, but you are just representing by your own words. and you will also able to learn how to edit a paper and make necessary changes, and you will learn how to use that parenthetical notation, means how to abbreviation and means where to put the abbreviation, because sometimes lot of abbreviation is very difficult to remember for the reader, and as well as difficult to it makes the paper difficult to read. So thank you for again for giving me this opportunity. This was the last slide of my presentation, today's presentation. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. That were the questions now. The platform is open for our audience to put forward their doubts and clarifications.
I welcome the participants to questions. Please unmute your mic and directly ask the resource person.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah, I can hear you very clearly.
sir. First of all, how to evaluate the paper, sir, first. So for Indian journal, if you prepare for ACA and like that Springer, sir, so immediately we can reject papers. So what is the criteria in publication for in a reputed journal, sir?
Yeah, first of all, there is no hard and sole rule for that. This kind of boundary means I cannot define very clearly, but while reading that articles from that journal, means what you are saying, Springer, whatever in particular journal, means you will means over the years or your experience will tell you that whatever the result you got, whether it is publishable on this kind of journal or not, means and also means you may feel that your paper is ready for those kind of particular journal, but for the reviewer or whatever the greater reader of those publication house may not feel that your journal means your article is not ready to publish on that particular journal. So in conclusion, there is no hard boundary, means how you can define that, but over the years with your experience you will understand. I think this comes with the experience, means on that particular.
Okay, sir. I also one doubt, sir.
Mhm.
So which part is the very important in our paper, sir? Abstract or introduction part? Main part is okay, sir. So bibliography and introduction and abstract. Which one is most important in this writing the article, sir?
So I think that the abstract is all the part. I mean that the abstract, introduction, and the results and conclusion. Maybe the method part is not as important as means the other parts, but these four parts has to be very important, because when you are telling in the starting of your introduction, your story should be something like a flow of water, means you are getting the reader to the end of the conclusion. So you are telling something movie or some kind of gripping story, so reader will continue go to there must be some flow. There must not be any discontinuity in your means story, means whatever you are telling. So you have to follow that flow on this, means in your article, means.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, pa.
I request the participants, if you have any questions, kindly unmute your mic and introduce yourself first, then you can please raise your questions.
Sir, again one more question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how to prepare for introduction, sir, first?
Yeah,
Is there any
introduction.
basic criteria is there, sir?
Yeah, criteria means, I mean, as I mentioned, the introduction part in your first few lines of your introduction must be about what is the context of your result. Means it will comes from the literature. Means whatever the existing literature are, means you are going to present that in literature there is this kind of information or understanding is available. So you are now going to present this. So you just tell the motivation, means whatever that information lack in your interaction. So I just put let me go. So I just put this picture, means in the literature you will say that this kind of information is already available in the literature. So in first few lines you will just state that whatever the knowledge gap exists in this existing literature. So you are just going to fill that gap exist in the literature. So your result, you should present your result in that way in the first 5 or 6 or 7 sentences. Then you will just result little bit that what you have done and how it's going to improve this one in that way. And finally you just put the 1 or 2 line conclusion, means what you got. Conclusion means what you got from your understanding or experiment or your results that is supported by your figures or theoretical analysis.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
I request Dr. Mayur, please stay in the meet up to the next session end.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Students, please proceed about the go for the next session. Mayuk, also please switch
Thank
off
you,
your
sir.
presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, if possible.
Yeah.
Sir, shall I proceed, sir?
2 minutes. Give me a minute, ma. Let me check about the next resource person. Mr. Balakumar, Dr. Balakumar. Yes, he is here. So we can go to the next session about patent filing. Please follow, ma. Follow.
Yes. It's important to be a person of honor rather than be a person with wealth. I now invite Mr. Sharan to introduce the chief guest of our next session.
Sharan.
Good afternoon, all. Sir,
Yes, please.
once again, good afternoon to one and all. We are now on to the next session on patent drafting and filing. Once again, it's my pleasure to introduce a resource person, Dr. Balakumar, who is going to talk about patent drafting and filing. After schooling, he has done his Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics at Anna University, Chennai. Then Master of Engineering at National Chung Sing University, Taiwan. Then he pursued his PhD in National Chiao-Tang University, Taiwan. He has very vast working experience as a patent engineer in various R&D departments in abroad, such as Real-Time Central Control Systems Private Limited, Taiwan, R&D Cell at Faria Systems, Taipei, Taiwan, Airwave Technologies, China, Tiancheng IPR Group at China. Then finally, now he is an assistant professor and patent engineer at Nanjing Science and Information Technological University, Nanjing, China. With his huge and vast experience in patent drafting, he is a right one for this session to elucidate about patent filing. Now, the stage is yours, Herr Dr. Balakumar. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Balakumar sir, is it fine? Is it everything okay from your side? Dr. Bala? I request the participants kindly please bear with us. Yes, your slides are visible, Balakumar. You can proceed now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, how about my audio? Is it okay now, right? Hello? Hello?
Yes, it is very clear.
Yes, sir. Audible, but you should mute your audio, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah,
Kindly mute your audio, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall I start my session now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Sakti Vinayakam, Dr. Shaktivel, and Dr. Rajkumar for organizing this virtual workshop and allow me to present during this session. And good afternoon to everyone. Today I'm going to give a brief about claim drafting and patent filing. During my presentation, I'm going to present most about the European and US patent. The European patent structure is more or less similar to the Indian patent structure. So when you just try to compare the Indian patent, you can just follow the European patent guidelines. In this session, I'm going to give a brief about these topics. The first one is about goals of writing. Let me turn on the pointer. The first one is about goals of writing claims, and the second one is about how to write the broad claim, and third is about claiming plural embodiments, and fourth one is about claiming an important function in a product claim, which will give at the end of this session you will get some idea about like how to write a claim and how to write a specification for your own application. So let me start from here. Before writing the claims, because for any kind of patent application, writing claims is the heart of the invention. So what the claims are for and what is your invention is. So patent claim writing is an precise science, so which is a little bit contrary with the journal papers, because the way you write the claim writings are achieved.
So there is no any golden book rule for writing any claims. So as long as you can let the examiner to understand what your invention is, and any person those skilled in the art would understand your invention, then your application will be like go to the condition of allowance. Here the practice for writing the claims, usually like you can patent by yourself, and in the either way, like you can practice through the patent attorneys and patent agents. Patent agents is nothing but they can just qualify. They have a qualified to file the patents, and once the person want to file the patents, they must need to follow the guidelines of MPP requirements, which is nothing but Manual of Patent Examining Procedures. And those MPP will follow the precedent in the district courts and the Court of Appeal, which would be considered as a good claim form. Next comes the goal of the claim writing. Why do we need to write the claim, and what is the goal of writing the claim? Here I just categorize into 5 different subsections. Number 1 is covering the invention. So when the inventor or the researcher who wants to file the invention to be patentable, they must need to understand the objective and goal of the invention, which is nothing but drafting the specification. Drafting the specification is nothing but elaborating the claims, and drawing the application. Drawing the application is more similar to what you have, what you want to claim in your patent application, which will reflect in the drawings as well. And claim should cover the disclosed invention, which means like whatever you're going to claim, which have to cover the whole invention, what you're going to apply. This is all about like covering the invention. I will give something more in brief in the next slides. And following to covering the invention, covering the invention should be broad as possible, which means like, for example, if you want to patent a pen, then your invention should be covered for any possible of the object that can ability to or anything. Then your individual embodiment should be covered as like this can be used by, if it can be seen in the perspective of product user, this can be seen in the perspective of future user needs, and also the assemblies, components, and the raw materials used for making the product, and what kind of method you use to manufacture the product, and what is the method of the use. So patent can be in many diagonals of approach, like people can see in different perspective. So patent can be written in a very plain language. So one skilled in the art would understand like whatever you have written, they can ability to mimic your invention by having those raw materials. So that is how the patent writing should be, which is different from writing a journal papers. Here comes the second part of the goals of claim writing. Claim coverage should be broad as possible. Like I mentioned, like whatever the claims you have right, that should cover like all kind of possibilities. For example, cover every particular preferred disclosed embodiment, and cover all unexpected and expected anticipated equivalents, and so that the competitors or your infringer may not copy your invention, and that may develop later into unintentional copies of the claimed invention. So once the person want to file the patent, they must need to think about like what is the purpose of the invention, and what at the time of the application, and also how it's going to applicable in the future, so that like your patent can be, usually when you apply for the patent, it could valid like at least 20 years at the beginning, because I'm not going to give detail about the time chart of the patent filing. So once you get your patent, from the date of your application, you will get like 20 years of your patent, and you have to renew like every year. So this is how it works. And next comes goals of claim writing, cover competing products or the method, cover a product that is identical to the invention, which means like if you have some invention and the drafter should cover the identical of the product that can be used from the invention, and then that can be particularly identical to the preferred embodiments. In any kind of embodiments, we don't narrowly claim like one product at a time. It could cover like multiple ways of developing a product. Like for example, I'm going to invent a pen. I'm going to invent a pen with some something like a click on the top, and you can just roll at the bottom. So something like you can just remove your refill, something you cannot be detachable. So that could cover like all kind of possibility of your invention. And that could also, but your invention is mainly focused on one particular goal. But during when you draft your application and in your specification, you can just cover all the embodiments with different kinds of approaches that you can build in the future. Here comes a cover of a product or a method that is similar to the claimed invention. So when you just apply for the patent, you can have like different kinds of writing your claims. One can be like a product claim, which is considered to be an apparatus, and method claim is nothing but how you make this product. So this is like related to each other, but they have different kinds of applications that you can avoid the infringement. Here, the fourth count is avoid the prior art. Your application should be like broad in scope, and which includes the concept of the invention. And you also need to make sure like you don't infringe the other patents. Like for example, if someone has already invented, that would be considered as a prior art to reject your application. So in that case, like you must need to add some distinguishing features that do not exist in any of the invention that I have done before. So that would be considered as a distinguishing feature, which is distinguished from the prior art, not read from any of the prior art. This any of the prior art here I refers to any kind of journal or any kind of available online published material or any kind of in any form of the people. So it should be a novel and it should not be obvious. So that is considered to be a distinguishing feature, and improve upon it. This is the way you can avoid the prior art. And fifth comes no unnecessary limits. Avoidance of unnecessary limits, limitation in the claims, those are not dictated by the prior art. Like for example, if you want to add some limitation, a limitation here I mentioned that you want to add something related to your invention, which would be considered as a limitation. For example, I just want to claim a chair which has like two portions. One is like a sit out area and one is a stretch out area, and it has like 4 legs. If I want to cover, but this could be interpreted as a coffee table, which also has a 4 legs, but it doesn't have a stretch out area. When you just say there is a one base area that is connected with the 4 legs, then you can infringe with the coffee table with the with any kind of chairs with 4 legs. So this is the way you can just avoid this kind of like prior art, and do not eliminate like too many elements from the claim by aiming for making your claim as a broad. Should protect the specific disclosure, and better to claim the ultimate function to be accomplished. So in your independent claim, no idea about like how the claim looks like. I'm going to show in the later slide how the claim looks like. And here comes the claim can be categorized into independent claims and dependent claims. So dependent claims is nothing but you are like further defining the independent claim by adding some more limitations, which is nothing but a dependent claim. So in your independent claim, you have to claim the ultimate function that has to be accomplished rather than intermediate function that leading to ultimate function. So in your independent claim, it is not necessarily you have to have a intermediate function that lead to achieving the ultimate function. That those can be introduced in the dependent claims, which can cover the broader scope of the invention. And after we finish like goal of claim writing, we have to know like how to write the broadest claim to avoid infringement in the future, and also in the one here I just segment into 3 different points. The first is use of different classes of claims and different perspectives. So like I mentioned before, like there are different kinds of claims that can be categorized. One can be a product claim or an apparatus claim. People, they usually call it like a apparatus. Like for example, I want to make a chair. I must need to tell like my chair looks like this and it has all these components. And method claim is like what are the steps I have to do to make a chair. This would be considered as a method claim. And product by process is like how you do the process to make a product. This would be considered, this is like interlinking about to like a product and the method claim. So I'm going to have a detailed approach of these 3 different classes of claims. Next, how to write the broad claim. The goal or objective of the invention. So if an inventor or the drafter who is going to apply for the patent, they should have a clear idea about what is the goal or the objective of the invention. What is the purpose of having this invention? Because having a patent is much more in a journal, because you need to spend like a lot of money for getting a patent. Let's say a rough number, for example, since I work as a patent engineer, we usually charge like at least like $5,000 for having one patent for end-to-end process. So which is like quite expensive, and even after your patent got allowed, you have to pay the fee like $500 to $2,000 for your patent, and every 20 years you need to renew by pay some fee to the corresponding patent office. Like for example, if you file for EP, you need to pay like in the EPO, and in US you need to pay to USPTO, something like that. And there is a one set of claim for one goal. For example, you have like a different goals that you have achieving different in the same invention. You have like one goal for writing one independent goals. There is one independent goal, and then you narrow down by introducing some limitation in the dependent claim and adding much more limitations in the another independent claim. So this is the way you can write the goal, write your claims. And the claim should not be written merely cover the structure, and this will lead to inclusion of unnecessary limitation. So for example, if you want to claim some product, you don't really need to include all the structure that you're going to use. If you're going to add all those structure, which eventually going to narrow down your scope of the invention, so that everyone, I mean, like even you can get your patent application, but there is no point in having a patent, because for example, if I'm going to claim like a pen or a pencil, like if I'm not going to give like different perspective, for example, adding like a two injectors in one pen cannot infringe your invention. So that makes like how you see the perspective of the invention at the time of the application and in the future. So you need to write like as broad as possible, and try to avoid like all the minimalistic parameters that you use to make your product. And third comes the inventor's way for achieving the objective of the goal. Before you're going to write, you must need to know the goal of the invention. First thing, you need to state the invention, how you achieve the goal, and that is the way you can do like writing a method claim. And avoid detailing of unnecessary specific disclosed structure. Like I mentioned, you don't really need to introduce all the things that you have used to make the product. That would be helpful for later on the prosecution, but not during the time of those which are achieve the objective. So you can just try to link the claimed feature which are related to make your product to be achieved. So this is how you going to add in how to write the broad claim. And the fourth comes writing the claim. Before you going to write the claim, you must need to observe like what are the embodiments that you can make in your invention. Like you can just there are n numbers of embodiments you can have the inventor or the drafter, and move through the illustrated embodiments. The one thing is like you have to have one embodiment for one independent claim. If you have n number of embodiment, you have n number of independent claim. For an example, in an instance, when I say like, for example, when you file a patent application for US Patent Office, you must need to have like, the minimum is like 20 claims, and you can have like 3 independent claims, and the total number is 20 claim. If your claim number get exceed, you need to pay another additional fee for your invention. So just try to make concise with like having an independent claim, and then you can just make if the inventor is like rich enough to have a patent, then they can have like as much as of independent claim and dependent claim in the patent application. And you can also extract some information to add in the independent claim during your prosecution. Then that would be perfectly fine. Even you don't write during your filing, as long as you have those information that get supported by the specification and the drawing. I mean, you are free to add, fetch any data from the figures and also from the specifications that you're going to write. A complete structure for achieving the objective must be claimed. So whatever you have built for your invention, there should have a complete structure, which would be considered as that has to be claimed in the independent claim, and omit mentioning unnecessary elements. Yeah, like to avoid narrowing your scope, omit the unnecessary elements in your claim. Fourth comes writing a claim. Here I'm going to tell about a product claim as a number of interacting and connecting elements. One is operating apparatus and article of the manufacturer. Operating apparatus is something like this apparatus is going to operate. So in this, for this kind of claim sets, you can just start somewhere. It could be like any random point and write the claim motion, so that and the conclusion of the claim should be like your aim of achieving the invention. An article of the manufacturer is like start in one point. Like for example, I claim like a chair. I start like they have a handle, and they have a sitting area, and they have a resting area, and they have 4 legs. So something like you can just introduce all these elements. You don't really have to mention like this kind of material should be made of plastics or like a steel. That would be considered as a limitations. So try to avoid these kind of limitations. But you think like some kind of elements that are necessary to achieve your goal, then you should introduce in your claim. The key feature, the key point of the patent application is like it could be understood by the reader without seeing the drawing disclosure or studying the disclosure in detail. For example, if I want to see someone's invention, when I read the claim, independent claim alone, I can understand the whole invention without seeing any of the figures enclosed in the patent application, or I don't need to go through in detail about the specifications. So this is how the claim should look like. Here next comes select the elements. You have to select the elements that has to be presented in the claim that has to be named in the broadest claim. Like for example, if I want to say something like for example a transmitter or a receiver, I would say a transmitter or the receiver instead of saying like some specific components that I used for a transmitter. Some components, the specific, for example, some specific ICs that I use for the receiving this signals. So you just use some generic term that can be used in select the elements to write in the claims. But in the specification, you can give different possibilities. Like, for example, I use the transmitter in the invention, but this transmitter could be any kind of transmitter. Like, for example, it could be transmitted through wirelessly, it could be transmitted through wired, or this could be transmitted in many other ways that you can just detail in your specification, but not in the claims. Essential method step analysis of the apparatus achieving the inventor objection. The elements critical to perform. So it is noted that if you specify some function that has to be that the inventor think that is necessary for your invention, then those by the element should be recited in the. So that would be helpful for getting the patent in sometimes. Next comes claiming. A claim must be properly defined and described, or else the claim section I have mentioned is USPTO section. When you comes with EPO or like or Indian patent, they have clarity issues under Article 52, something like that. But the terminology would be the same. Unless your claim have any clarity issues, then they will reject under different law. So naming the element is something like this should be sufficiently descriptive and that relate to the primary function of the element. For example, when I claim that I say a receiver that has to receive some signals, I don't say like a transmitter instead of saying a receiver. So that has to do that function. So that is how you can just define you can give your own name, then that would be perfectly fine. After naming, describe where the element in the apparatus, like for example, a gear connected with the shaft. If I just say gear and if I say it's shaft, in the shaft, so it could be either say like a gear connected with the shaft, which means they have a physical connection between gear and the shaft, or you can say gear on the shaft, which means the gear is placed on the shaft. Avoid reciting unplaced or the unrelated elements. So unless it is necessary to mention the shaft, you can avoid like saying shaft in your claim. Description of where the element is with reference to the other claimed elements is often joined with the function or the combination of the two elements. So like I mentioned the given example before, a motor is connected with the shaft. Here I just introduced the three limitations saying that a motor shaft which is used for driving the shaft to rotate. So I use the motor to drive the shaft. The purpose is to rotate the shaft. So this is how your claim language looks like. Here, the next comes to describe the claim elements. This law that I have mentioned is a US patent, but you have to follow the same for any kind of patent application. The drawing of the non-provisional application in any divisional application must show every feature. If you say something feature in the claim, then the drawing should be presented in there. And then the claim must confirm the information set forth in the specification and must find a clear support of the antecedent basis in the description. Like for example, if you introduce one element at first, like for example, I say a mirror, and I have like but in my invention I have like 3 mirror. I say a mirror, and next if I introduce the same mirror, then I use the mirror in the consecutive claims. If I go for like, if I refer to second mirror, I have to use like different term. For example, I say a first mirror, a second mirror, a third mirror. When I introduce like a second time a first mirror, then I say the first mirror, the second mirror, something like that. So that the inventor can understand, I mean, the examiner or the reader can understand which mirror you are referring to. So it must have an antecedents basis support from the description as well as to the claims. And revising the claim after writing it or later amending a filed claim. Remove all the elements from every claim that are unnecessary, which will lead to your claim objective to be narrow. And review each claim limitation by limitation to make sure whether each limitation that you have presented in the claim and your invention is necessary. When the limitation is removed, for example, I say like I have 3 mirrors, first mirror, second mirror, and third mirror. And I think like a second mirror is not necessary in the claim. That would be a supporting structure. If I'm going to remove from the claim, and you have to make sure whether I have placed any relationship between the first mirror and the second mirror, or second mirror to the third mirror. So you have to make sure that is there any relationship that has been established. If you're going to establish any relationship, then you eventually need to introduce those limitations into your claim. So when you remove something, you also need to remove every component that are interrelated to the other structure that you have introduced, and be sure all the necessary functional limitations still remain in the claim. So it is not suggested to remove the necessary limitations to make your claim to be broad. So it is mandatory to have even your claim get narrower. And alternate claim drafting prior to the claimed information. If you know the claim structure and you know like how to frame your claim structure, then you can just start from the prior art and review each claim by limitation by introducing like few more things to distinguish from the prior art. So by doing so, you have to add the essential limitation. That's why like prevent the omission and avoid aggregation or listing of the elements that are connected to each other. And fourth comes claiming a plural embodiments. Claiming a plural embodiments is like the plural embodiments refers to even the invention has like one objective, but it has like a different embodiments that reflect to a different claim. The one that covers all embodiments should consider to be as a generic claim. So the drafter here refers to the person who is going to draft the application, or the inventor should consider the inventor's objective and the way in which the objective is accomplished, and use enough claims to completely cover the invention. So use as much as claim to completely cover the invention. Even you're going to introduce much more limitation in the dependent claims, that would be perfectly fine. And then the generic claims. Primary generic claims written on all embodiments would be as an independent claim. So when you want to introduce some more limitations, then you have to introduce like claim 2, claim 3, and claim 4. Separate independent claims for separate embodiments. Which means like if you have like 5 different embodiments, you have 5 different independent claims. And you can just replica the dependent claim, that would be fine. Some feature in one embodiment that are not present in others, that would be considered as a generic claim. For example, I would say like I have a chair, and I have a chair with 5 legs, and I have a chair with 4 legs, and I have a chair with 6 legs. In the generic claim, I would say like my chair has a leg, but in a different embodiment, I would say my chair has a 5 legs, my chair has a 6 legs, my chair has a 7 legs, something like that. So the generic claim should cover all the possibilities of your embodiment. For each individual embodiment, there will be generic claims and claims specific to that embodiment. So if you have 5 embodiments, then you can just have like 5 different dependent claims to reflect your to the specific embodiment. Use enough claims to completely cover the invention. Cover all the invention, all the embodiments. For example, if you have 5 embodiments, you can cover all the embodiments, and avoid limitations in the independent claim and introduce a limitation in the dependent claim that I have mentioned before. And several elements are combined, one or more generic claim limitation to broaden the claim, and avoid adding irrelevant feature which is not necessary for your goal objective. And next comes the dependent claim. Dependent claim has to cover a specific commercial embodiment. For example, my goal is to have like, for example, I want to claim a fan. I can have like n number of blades in the fan. I can just claim a fan in my generic. I'll just talk more about the blade, not talk about like how many numbers of blade. And you can just define like I have like 3 numbers of blade. It can push the air like more faster. For 5 number of blade, it can have like more efficient, something like that. So by this way, like you can cover like a specific embodiment for specific commercial purpose, which would help to protect against the copyist, and it's more difficult to invalidate from other infringer. And dependent claims to cover all detailed feature of your invention. So this is something I have talked about the embodiments. Here, this curve is your whole disclosure, but you have a different embodiments. But your claim only covers embodiment 1. So but in your claim, you don't talk anything about embodiment 2. You only talk about embodiment 1. But embodiment 2 is presented in the specification. This unclaimed embodiment is considered dedicated to the public, which means like anyone can use this embodiment, and it doesn't cover any infringement in the future. So even you have like embodiment 2 that I can use it without your permission, then that would be considered like dedicated to public that can use without paying any penalty to you. And next comes claiming an important function in the product claim. This is the last section of this, how to write the claims. Claiming an important function in the product claim. Do not simply claim the result. If you achieve something, you don't say like, I get this. I get this kind of function based on the product. Like for example, woolen cloth having a tendency to wear rough rather than smooth. This cloth having a tendency to wear rough rather than smooth is just a result. Instead of talking about what is a woolen cloth, what it is made of, and what by having this element will give this result. So this would be considered as a wrong interpretation of writing a claim. And claim structure which accomplishes the ultimate objective looks like this. A woolen cloth comprising a first layer of woven wool cloth, the first layer having projecting filaments, and the second layer, because a tendency to wear rough rather than smooth would be considered as like no patentable feature in your invention. So you must need to define more about what is the elements to give that feature. Do not merely claim some means of accomplishing the ultimate results. Claim the series of the related elements that are essential to achieve your invention. Some elements may comprise for accomplishing a particular function or a step. So those elements are considered to be essential and brings you the novelty of your invention. Here comes a method-wise process. Like I mentioned before, there are like different kinds of claim structures that you consider as a method claim and the process claim. For example, a method for curing headache that comprises the administration of therapeutically effective dose of aspirin, which should be considered as a method, how it can cure something that comprises like different elements in this one. And the method usually refers to way to use the product to accomplish the given results. It's not giving like how you make this product. The process usually refers to a series of steps in manufacturing. For example, a process for making a soap or candles. The term process means for example, you have like several steps that you follow to make a soap or candles. That would be considered as a process. Here the method claim means each method steps. Apparatus claims that covers what a device is, not what the device does. So which means like apparatus, you have to talk more about the structure of the device. You don't really need to talk about like what this structure is going to do. This won't be considered as a apparatus claim. The words reciting a gerund form would be used for writing a method claims. For example, this one will be adding, performing, and like for example, linking and receiving, transmitting, something like that. This kind of using introducing verb in the gerund form would be considered as a method claim. Name of the step and sometimes describe what this step is for. Here comes some detail about the different method claims. Recite additional limitation or details. For example, and then recite additional steps in the dependent claims. For example, if you introduce like one, like for example, your fan has like n number of blades, you can say wherein the number of blades in the fan is 5, wherein the number of blades in the fan is 6, something like that. You can add something more in detail in the dependent claim. Further define the broadest limitation. I'm going to give some examples for this in the following lectures. And recite a set of separate steps constituting a previous recited broad step. For example, if you have some steps that recites in claim 2, if you want to further define For example, I just define something, and then I want to further define this. This blade is made of this material, and further define this blade is made of another material. Then you are further defining what you just introducing before. Here is some example wherein the generating system comprises heating water in the iron, further comprising heating the ironing surface, wherein the heating the ironing surface and heating water are performed in the same step. So this would be considered as like doing together in the same step, wherein step 3 comprises step 3A and 3B. Here, wherein the ironing surface first leading side is at the front end of the ironing surface. This is like you are introducing the limitation to talk about like further defining the ironing surface. So this is how you introduce the limitation in the following different claims. And for example, a narrow step should follow the broader step. For example, you can say like a separate by distilling rather than saying distilling to separate. Or you can just say separating is one step and distilling is the next step. Steps do not have to be interrelated or connected, but the product claims does. Steps should be directly or indirectly related to the workpiece, and steps should be directed to obtain the final objective. So this is the key features that you need to concern about, like when you write the method claims. And here is some example about like how to write the method claims. Like I mentioned, like I'm going to show something about like how the claim looks like. Here is some example of the method claim, talking about method of ironing. Here on the left hand side, you can see from the picture, there are like series of steps that can do in the gerund form: applying, moving, blocking, and the final comes the key feature of the invention. So this is how you can write the method claims. And here, when you see here, applying an iron surface to a cloth, this ironing surface is refers to some object which would be considered as an apparatus of your invention, and the cloth is a workpiece that you're going to use for the application perspective. So by this way, you can introduce your elements in the method claims. Third comes like a method limitation names comes by like moving, delivering, blocking. So this is how you need to draft your method claims. And here I just going directly through this because I don't want to repeat again. What object or the workpiece step is performed, and where possible or the function of the purpose for performing the each step is indicated. For example, striking the workpiece for flattening. Flattening is for you just do the striking operation on the workpiece for this particular function, which is considered to be a flattening. So this is a yield result of this invention, and you use the workpiece is the use the product, but it is not your part of your apparatus. But striking is the operation that you do on the available object to do this purpose. So this is how you have to frame your structure. And different method claim is like, for example, this method according to claim 12 further comprising heating the ironing surface. This would be considered as a additional limitation. And when you see claim 14, the method of claim 13, wherein heating of the water, iron, and heating of the ironing surface are performed on the same step, which means like further defining the previous step. So we just have a method of claim 13, which means this 14 is depend on claim 13. So this is how you have to structure your claims. And in the either way, you can just have like this, heating water in the iron and heating the ironing surface. And this claim 15 direct to claim 11 saying that directing steam and rocking of the handle and rocking the handle. So this is like further limiting the steps in claim 11. So which means like this is how the way you can introduce your limitation in the different claims. And different method claim can include a product limitation only. But different product claim should not include only in the method limitation. For example, wherein for the method claim you can introduce the product, but in the product you cannot just use the method process. Even you can use, but there is no point on having, there is no patentable feature of having a method limitation in the product claim. So the final comes the product by process. A product by process is how you make a product by having a several step of process that you perform process to make the product. The most common situation is like use both product and process terms. When there is a product, when the product is new and is unobvious. Unobvious is like when you combine like two invention, then you can just get the claimed invention, which would be considered as obvious. So when it is unobvious, which means like even you combine like two different invention, but you cannot achieve this function, then that would be considered as unobvious, incapable of independent structural definition. So in that case, like you can use a product by process claims. And if the product is old and obvious, but the process is new, then you can just use a product by process claim. And in either way, the product is new and unobvious, but the process based limitation, in that condition, you can just use a product by process claims. These are some examples that I'm going to quickly go through this. Typical claim would include according to process of a process which comprises steps of. So you can use like different kinds of terminology. That this is like if you are a patent drafter, you have your own lexicography. Like you can just write your own patent on with your own style of writing. So there is no any defined structure to write the patent. As long as you follow the guidelines from the MPEP, then that would be perfectly fine. And the product by process can be used in application having a regular product claim. There is no limit on number of product process claim for one application. You can have like n number of ways to achieve like one application. That would be the advantage of having a product by process claim. And there are like several methods, and there are like different steps that you can use to achieve like the objective. And here product by even you can satisfy those conditions. This has to satisfy the novelty. That means your invention alone is novel in terms of like prior art, and also obvious in terms of the prior art. Like combining two prior art, any person skilled in the art would arrive your invention that would be considered as obvious. So you have to consider both these things. And for example, a new process of assembly and packaging the cigarettes are claimed, but the resulting product is a cigarette, which is well known in the art. But in the product by process claims covers the products as claimed, but only those products are made by particular process. When you say like, I only do these steps to achieve this one, then you can just go for product by process claim. But you still need to overcome the novelty and the obvious issues. So yeah, this is how you draft your product by process claims. And these are some case laws that I have quoted here. Like you can just go for like product by process claim, like litigation, and it claimed that both method and product produced this were covered by under the utility patents. So I'm not going to talk anything about the utility patents here. Points related to the good claim drafting. I just say like you have like a preamble, and then you further define your feature. So the preamble is the way that you just seeking attention of your invention. It will identify the field of the invention. The good preamble, it should be short. It has to tell the story. It has to tell the story by just defining in one word. It should not briefly elaborate in a sentence. It does not typically describe the ultimate purpose of the invention. Rather, it would say like one particular element. And preamble can be a title of the invention, that would be fine. And subparagraph, you can write your claim in the subparagraph form, but the claim should be clarity. If you want to introduce like numerical numbers or using alphabets A, B, C to define different elements, it's optional that the drafter can define like how to define the elements. And interferential claiming is like if you want to introduce like two different elements and you want to link these two elements to each other, then you have to introduce each element first, and then you make a relationship between these two elements. This is what the interferential elements looks like, and you have to be careful about the antecedent basis by introducing the element first, and later on you use like the X element, something like that. Introducing a new element in the claim, which will describe the operation without it has been introduced before, so which would be considered as a bad practice or avoid. Then you will get rejection during your prosecution. Then you have to correct this. I'm going to give some example of this. A lever having a forked end pivoted on a pin mounted between a frication and the forked end. In this way, like you can have like introduce the element a lever having a forked end and a pivot pin mounted between the frications of the forked end. You already introduced the forked end before, so you have a forked end and the forked end at the last. Or you can either break into three, saying that a lever having a forked end, the forked end comprises a spaced part frications and pivot pin mounted between the frications. This is like you clearly define like what are the elements and aligning in the manner. So this will give you a better clarity for the reader. Yeah, this is all about like some quick guidelines about like how to draft the claims, and I have some supplements in the later slides, like if the listener want to see something more in detail, but actually I just give a part of it. I don't want to add many more new into the slides, so I just give you some idea about like how to write the preamble and how to arrange the elements and how to choose the elements in the consecutive slides that you can just see in the slides. If anybody wants, I can share the slides with you guys. Yeah, thank you for listening, and sorry for taking up too much time during the presentation.
That was so clear. Thank you so much, sir. The forum is open for the question
Yes.
and answer session. Participants
Sure.
mute themselves and raise their doubts.
I request the participants, if you have any questions,
I just find
kindly unmute your mic and introduce yourself.
I just find like one question on the chat from Arun Kumar Bojarajan. Can we publish papers before patent filing? Yes, you can, but they have some regulations for the different divisional applications. Just for in case, like if you are the same inventor that you're going to publish the paper, and your patent should be filed within a year. If you publish a patent, if you're going to submit your patent after 1 year of your published article, then your paper should be considered as a prior art of your own invention. So you have to consider about the timing chart of filing the patent. And if you don't have a detail about your patent filing, then you can just file a non-provisional patent application, which would be considered as like you just give some structure about like I just write only claims and submit to USPTO to gain the time for filing. So you can also do in this way. Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Is it possible to? Sir, is possible to copyright in mathematics or patent rights, sir?
Yes, patent application can be filed in any kind of stream, irrespective of the field. You can even patent your formula, or even patent like any kind of. You can even patent your own words, saying like, for example, if you have some code, say like, "Hooray! I want to patent this application." So whoever you use this word, then you will get some royalty for using that word. So you can even patent any kind of things that you have done in your daily life. So yeah, whatever you can just do patent.
Yes, sir. Sir, is possible to mathematics for any formula for a way of writing problems?
Yes, they have some, like for example, every stream is considered to be different. For example, I am from the electrical engineering background. There are some certain rules that I have to follow for writing the patents. If the people from the chemistry background, they have to write like a certain way of writing the patents. Like for example, they have like different chemicals that they use. They say like my component consists of elements A, B, C, and D, something like that. So they have like different type of claim sets. You have to follow the guidelines according to like different streams. But if you want your patent to be like very narrow, you can directly introduce, I just invent this formula, I just want to make it patent. Then you can just simply write, my formula consists of this element, and this can be performed only by myself, and this can be also implemented by computer. Then you can just have like, you introduce any hardware that can have a program that can be installed, then you can just using this operation. That is perfectly fine, that you can file your patents.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sir, I need one more question, sir. Sir, how to reduce the plagiarism, for instance?
For the plagiarism in the patent, actually the patent filing is like a little bit different from
Yes.
I mean like your journals, because you will have examiners before they make your patent to be allowed. So you need to apply to the USPTO, then they will send to the corresponding examiners. The examiner is like a skilled person in that field, so he can try to find some prior art and then try to argue with the inventor, saying that your patent has been there is no novelty in your patent, or there is your patent is obvious by combining two prior art. If you just succeed and you got your patent, like for example, if the examiner failed to see my patent that can infringe your invention, then I can sue the inventor to say that the patent you have filed is like the original idea is abstracted from me. So you can just argue with this, and then you can just make the patent to be like cancelled or something like that. So you can do that. That would be considered as an infringement. There is no actually there is no plagiarism in the patent, because eventually your patent get how to say, like your patent won't pass to be allowance during your prosecution, because examiners are like good in searching something related to your invention. So in that case, like they will have like a lot of prosecutions. Let's say like if one patent get allowed, it will take at least a year or even more. So there are several steps before your patent get allowed.
Sir, I have a question.
Sir, if possible means you can provide me for your WhatsApp number, sir. I will ask some question.
Sure.
There.
Sure. So you mean I can leave my cell phone number here in the session?
Give me the.
Okay.
Sir, I have one question. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, the inventors from various institutes, who will get more priority and who will get the credits more? Sir? The inventors from various institutes, who will get more credits like that?
Actually, same like your journal paper, you have like several inventors in one patent. Like for example, I work for one entity. Let's say I work for a company called Google, and then I have like three inventors invent this project, this invention. Actually, the royalty of the patent goes to the Google, because we need to sign some declaration form like I give this patent. If they have like different priority for like different people in this one. There is no contribution status for the people in the inventor. So like the firm is holding the whole property of the patent, and then because usually when you work for the company will help you through the process of getting the patent. So usually the company will get this the royalty of the patent. Like for example, if you want to sell your patent alone, like if some other company want to use your technology, you can sell your patent to them with like whatever the amount you have spent for making the patent, you can just quote that money to. Actually, the patent is like $1 billion business. So yeah.
Okay, sir. In this company, okay, in the institution, how we declare that?
In that case, like institution will hold the property rights of your invention. In that case, if you are a professor and you want to file a patent through your institution, the institution will give some royalty to the inventor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We request the participants kindly unmute your video and mic unless you have any questions.
Hello, sir. I have a question.
Yes.
Yes. Sir, after filing the patent, how many years it will take to publish, sir?
It really depends upon the examiner and how fast he follow your application. Like for example, when you apply the patent for the first time, but you still have the priority date of claiming your patent rights, then sometimes it may take 6 months to go for the first office action. Sometimes you will get your first office action in 1 month. So there is no any limitation for like open your case. But they have some, as long as you can, unless your patent get allowed, you can just reopen your case as much as you can. You need to pay fee for every time when you open the case.
I have to renew every year and have to pay the fees as long as it gets published.
Once your patent got allowed, then you will, like I just say for the US patent, you will get like 20 years of your patent rights, and after like 20 years, they will send you a reminder that your patent is going to expire. So like you need to pay the additional fee to retain your patent. Like you can have like another 10 year, 20 year, as much as you can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, we request you to kindly fill the feedback form which is posted in the chat box.
Gratitude is the single most important ingredient to live a successful and fulfilled life. Now, the time has come to express our sincere thanks to those who have made our event a grand success. I'd like to invite Dr. P. Shaktivinayagam sir to propose the vote of thanks.
Thanksgiving is an important session in all the events and gathering. I am indeed grateful to propose this word of thanks for this virtual workshop on research paper writing and patent filing. I start from our respected Madam Principal, Dr. Brinda Madam, and our college management for their kind permission and support to organize this event successfully. Secondly, I thank the Institution Innovation Council of our college, IIC, and the Intellectual Property Rights Cell for this chance to organize this event. Next, the persons who accepted my request, even under very hectic workload, none other than Mr. Mayuk, Dr. Mayuk and Dr. Bala, for their wonderful presentation. Thank you, Mayuk, and thank you, Bala. Next, the participants. Without you and your wonderful interest and support, this event can't be filled as a successful one. So I thanks all the participants, each and every one. Next, my student friends, Mr. Akshay, Ms. Sangeeta, Ms. Vinisha, Mr. Charan and the team for their great support and arrangement for all things in order to flow this event without any resist. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Finally, I missed two persons, my co-coordinators, my friends, Dr. M. Rajkumar and K. M. Shaktivel for their all support to make this event. Thank you very much. We request all the participants to fill this feedback form. Once we receive the comments from you all, we will supply the self-assessment kind of material we received from the resource persons to your registered email. Thank you very much for joining this session. Thank you for your support.
Thank you all. We request the participants to leave the meeting now.